just saw there out of turn 4. A crucial part of the circuit, because out of turn 4, there is actually a bit of extra camber around the outside of the circuit, and you can use that to launch yourself onto the start-finish straight right there. Only problem is, the wall is right there as well, where the flagman sits. And you see drivers testing out, running 2x2 around here. James Eden's checking out the low line around Lernerville. The point I'm trying to make is it's nice and high banking at the top, but very flat at the bottom. So you really need to change your driving style if you want to try and make a move work here.
All about adapting. And if we look at the practice times, you'll see that Brenton Hobson is fastest at the moment over Trent Gosley and Harry Stewart. And in practice, they get grouped into their own little groups, and so they can only see a certain amount of cars on the track. You know what's interesting, Reese? Berkeley's in the group all by himself.
Oh no. Poor Joel. Well, he's got the track all to himself there. Unfortunately, he hasn't been able to get that top time in practice so far, but certainly we should know from past form that Mr. Berkeley can put a lap together and put it on pole, or at least have a front row start for his heat. But it's all going to be much of a muchness in just a few minutes, because we're going to be going through into qualifying soon. And as usual, I've just seen Joel Berkeley on the InSim text chat. Is there anyone else in here? I can't see anyone. Oh, no.
Well, that's the side effect of being the only one in your group. Yes, he can only see himself. Luckily, qualifying's out to start, and all the beats are normal. I always speak about how important qualifying is, even with it being a heat format, because if you mess up qualifying and end up at the back of your heat, you've got to get to the front of your heat. Otherwise, you've got to end up going through the B mains. And if you can't get to the front of the B main, you're out of the night. So qualifying is still so important. If you're not one of the top 2 or the top 6 to get a front row start for one of the heats.
Yeah, exactly. As usual in this series, only the top 4 from each heat will transfer straight through to the feature. And when we get to our B mains, the top 4 from each of those will only transfer through to the feature. So there's a lot to play for. And if you start off on the back foot in one of your heats, then it's going to set your night on a trajectory that you may not like that much. You're going to have to make a few adjustments down the line. But the clock still ticks away in the practice session. Everyone is back in the pits and just waiting for the call to advance through into qualifying. There it is. That call indeed from Brady Baldwin, our race director. So 3 minutes, and each driver only gets 2 laps. Question on my mind, Ryan, is what line is going to be optimal in qualifying? Will we see drivers still running the top, go to the middle where the clay's a bit fresher, or will we see drivers try to tighten up the corners as much as possible? We'll find out soon.
Hobson ran his fastest lap in practice by riding the top of the racetrack in 1 and 2. And then in 3 and 4, he also ran the top of the racetrack. So, top. Stay at the top is my assumption.
Yeah, looks like it, as Trent Gosley gets his lap off to a start. Oh, no, there we go. That's the danger of Lernerville right there. You go a bit too hot into the corner. You just go straight over the berm, and you're in no man's land. What of Harry Stewart then? He's coming around to set the first lap time of the night. 15.5, that is P1. Kane Della, 4/10 slower. And James Edens immediately beats Harry Stewart there to the top time, 15.3 for the Slick Sim Sport driver. Cam Taylor slotting in just behind him. These times are looking pretty close so far. Let's see if Trent Gosley in the number 4 can actually get a lap together. It's a 15.586 for Gosley, which puts him P4.
Good lap. James Edens to the top. And he's got almost a 10th over Harry Stewart. That's quite a lot. With the such fine margins we see in dirt racing. Here's Wilbur Stewart. Hasn't got a time in yet. He's about to get his first effort on the board. What's it going to be? It's not great. It's a 16.0. He really needs the second lap to be better.
Yeah, he really does. Lewis Hewitt's got form to match at this track. He won here in the ASC Championship and the 360 Power Series last year. Across the line he goes, and it looks like that's been a bit better for him. Puts himself up to P5 in style, but then gets bumped back to P6 as Josh Harm goes to the top of the timesheets. Slick Sim Sport really looking good here today. Hobbo P3 as well in the number 88, so it's a good run for him so far. His teammate Jaden Russell in the number 27, currently sitting in P15. And with a 15.6, well, that puts him up the order somewhat. He is now 10th. And the only driver left to set a time in this session is Max Lumsden. And speaking of Max Lumsden, he is coming around, setting a 15.4, puts himself well in the top 10 as Joel Berkeley goes to 4th place. So, what of Lumsden here in the number 55? Running just a bit below the slick up at the top. And that is a 15.6. That's not an improvement for him. So his first lap is the one that counts there. Still, P7, not a bad run.
Is it harsh to say Berkeley is only 4th?
Considering his form in this series, I don't think so. I would expect Joel Berkeley to be up there challenging for the top positions every single round with the form that he's got. But nonetheless, he's guaranteed himself a second place start in this first heat of the night that we are coming into right now. The grid as follows. It is Harm and Berkeley on the front row. Slick Sim Sport locking it out. Lumsden and Gosley are going to be taking up the second row in P3 and P4. Cameron Dance and Aaron Kelly rounding out the top 6, and the 005 of Nash Granger is going to be the last car on the grid here. It looks like we're only going to be getting 3 heats of 7 cars each tonight, thanks to this reduced field.
Should all make the feature.
Certainly should. No one in danger of going home tonight. So let's just see if they can determine how they will start for the feature. That's the main thing tonight.
Get out of the pit safely.
Yes, that's another thing that the drivers have to be careful of, because, goodness me, coming out of the pits onto the front straight at Lernerville, not only is it a big old jump, there's a great crest, and the car almost bottoms out as you come onto the track proper, but these cars are also notoriously difficult to control at low speed. They tend to wander a bit in a straight line, so the drivers are going to have to be careful of how it goes for them on these formation laps. Keep a nice margin of space to each other. Now, with Harm and Berkeley on the front row, you can see at the start zone by that little bollard. Oh, there we go. That's one of the dangers right there.
4 from this will go straight through to the feature. The rest will have to set their spot on the feature via B main. So they're all going through to the feature, but top 4 will do it with one less step.
Let's see how it goes then. Josh Harm going up the circuit and firing it towards the inside. Green flag flies and we are racing at Lernerville. And Harm leads across the line, but Berkeley goes for the over-under on the inside. He can't pick up the throttle as well as Harmy does, though. So the Slick Sim Sport teammates remain as they are. Berkeley going all the way up to the top, trying to get some momentum onto the straight. He can see Gosley behind, and that is a move that you might be seeing quite a bit tonight, using that outside banking at turn 4 to try and do up a run into the first turn. But Josh Harm, I think, is doing pretty well to keep Berkeley behind for now. The real battle is for third on back, because Gosley has got Max Lumsden, Cameron Dance, and Aaron Kelly all behind him in a group.
Yeah, they're all just... No one's really close enough to quite make a move at this point. Anywhere in the field. Granger's been dropped quite a long way off, and there's contact as Kelly slides it into the left side of Cameron Dance, who does a good job to gather it up. Just a little bit too ambitious from Kelly in that particular scenario.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be a long time coming for another move, because Dance is turning in nice and early. Trent Gosley starting to pressure Joel Berkeley as Josh Harm has managed to skip race line.
Dance both off the edge of the racetrack at turn 3 and 4, and a jump back on.
Yeah, right. Okay. Well, those guys looks like they didn't come together. They both did that on their own. As it's on for the lead, there goes Joel Berkeley to the inside of Josh Harmon up onto the racing line out of turn 4. Harmy's going to get him back on the front straight here. Penultimate lap, 8-lap heats here tonight. This is going to be quite the battle, especially if Gosley can get himself in on this. To the inside, Berkeley goes once again, the slide job on his teammate, and white flag side by side across the line. Let's see who comes out on top in this first heat here at Lernerville Speedway. There's Berkeley with the momentum around the outside, but Josh Harm protecting the lower part of the racetrack, and Berkeley goes straight through, but that is not going to be enough. Josh Harm across the line first, and Trent Gosley gave it a red-hot go of trying to go up the inside, but he was just missing the momentum. Still, pretty good finish there. Less than a tenth of a second there.
That was brilliant stuff. Squeezed him down the back straight. Did a fantastic job of setting it up at Josh Harm. Outclassed Joel Berkeley, the championship leader. James Edens then. Harry Stewart had the front row for Heat 2 with Lewis Hewitt and Jaden Russell on row 2. Bob King, Daniel Boyd, Cody Laurent make up the rest of the Heat 2 grid.
And here we go again. And as the drivers get off to a start, this is a good view of the pit exit at Lernerville. Look at that. Oh, goodness me. Lewis Hewitt getting airborne coming out of the pits. Obviously, I mean, Hewitt has had to deal with a damaged car more than once this season, so he's probably used to the car having a couple of dings in it already.
Yeah, the pit exits are really tricky because you start in it side by side or behind it, depending on how far back you are on the grid. But it's barely wide enough for 2 big blocks. And obviously the way these cars are set up, they don't want to drive straight. They pull to the left. So it's really hard to drive straight. It pulls straight to the left, which either puts you straight in the fence or straight into the car alongside you. So it's really tricky. Then obviously you've got that awkward jump almost onto the actual racing surface. So the safe bet is to do it single file, one at a time, as they're doing tonight, as we've seen already. I think they're instructed to do that by race control. But they've completed the pace laps. Let's get set for Heat 2.
Brilliant. And almost contact there between our 2 leaders, and James Edens decides to go early in the middle of turns 3 and 4. That might give Hewitt a run at Stewart, but not for now. To the inside, Hewitt goes with Bob King following very close behind, but James Edens holding on for the lead at the end of lap 1. Jaden Russell going for it on King down the inside, and it looks like that position has been taken at least down the straight. King gets him right back, and there goes Hewitt up the inside of Harry Stewart. The momentum for the number 11 is great around the outside, but he's got to be careful not to push it up too far. As between Jaden Russell and Bob King, that is fantastic racing we're seeing as Lewis Hewitt almost getting into Harry Stewart. It's a very close battle here for the last couple positions on the podium.
He went to throw it in for like a big slide job, but then the car just didn't slide in. It just drove straight, and he had to jam on the brakes, it looked like. It's very odd looking.
Yeah, so maybe that rear end is not quite as free as Lewis Hewitt would have liked. Might have to drive it a little bit harder into the turns, maybe dial the brake bias back a little bit. It seems that James Edens is untroubled up the front at the moment. He's working the middle of the road, and it's working out really nicely for him in turns 1 and 2. You see he's just dipping below the slick line. That's where the grip is. Lewis Hewitt's gone off the track. He's gone a bit too wide out of turns 3 and 4, and he has fallen back.
Cody Laurent, meanwhile.
Oh my God. Going for a big old tumble coming into turn 1. And what happened to him there? I think he did that all by himself, just getting into the wall on the exit of 4.
He just nudged the fence and it catapulted him into a big crash, as you saw. Really unfortunate for him. He'll be very glad that there is only 21 cars tonight. But the final lap begins for James Edens, and it's looking comfortable for him, the man second of the championship.
Excellent stuff from James Edens. Just started, eyes forward, never looked back, and takes the win here in Heat 2. Stewart comes home a very strong second, and Bob King on the podium. Daniel Boyd gets the free ticket straight through to the feature, and Lewis Hewitt made his displeasure at his bad luck known by literally taking off, coming through turn 1. Those are that was the way that one went. And here is the grid for the next heat. Hobson on pole with James Rice alongside him. And that's going to be quite the competitive top row there. Cam Taylor and Paul Bryan behind, with Kane Della, Daniel Hardigan, and Hayden Cardwell rounding out the field here. Now, Hardigan and Cardwell coming from the back. I'm really looking forward to seeing what they can do. This might be one of the tightest heats we see.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, it will be. Really intrigued by this heat. Hobson intrigues me.
Yeah.
I feel like we've seen a lot of pace, but not the results for him this season.
I would agree. Brenton Hobson has managed to put in some great qualifying performances, put himself in really good starting positions in the heats, and managed to make his way through to the feature. And occasionally he has been running in those top positions, challenging for podiums, for top fives, but it never seems to quite go his way. He always either ends up in an incident with another driver, or makes a mistake, which really puts him back. So I think priority number 1 for Brenton Hobson here is to do what James Edens did, and occasionally just put the power down and hope that everyone behind you battles amongst themselves.
Well, as the leader, he has the control. He can turn hard left and get that power down. It's very hard for second place to react on the top. He'll wait, go. And he puts it down, and we are green for our final heat of the night. And that is a good jump for Brenton Hobson. Rice will try to go with him, but he won't quite keep the overlap. And look how close they are behind. In fact, a little bit of contact between Cam Taylor and Paul Bryan. And that sends, in a chain reaction, the 83 are very sideways into and out of turn 3.
Yeah, Daniel Hardigan couldn't quite work out a place to go there, as Cardwell and Bryan had to gather themselves up on the outside of turn 4. Down to the inside goes the number 77, but it's not working out very well there for Mr. Hardigan. Cardwell really running the top as it's on for second. Cam Taylor has really brought on a great amount of pace and pressuring Paul Bryan, as there's the slide job from Hayden Cardwell, trying to get it done on Paul Bryan, but they're just trading places down the straights for now. Cam Taylor still up the inside there of James Rice, and it looks like this is how they're going to be running for some time unless this slide job can be pulled off. Unfortunately, hasn't worked out. James Rice was wise to that. He saw it coming, and 2x2 racing, I mean, this is just giving the win to Brenton Hobson. Oh my goodness, there we go. Cars coming together. That was Taylor and Cardwell coming together and coming down into Paul Bryan. So they're all going to be fighting, squabbling amongst themselves for the minor positions in this heat. Bryan up the inside of Cardwell once again. 3 wide in turns 1 and 2. Why don't you? Oh, so close between Cardwell and Bryan. I love watching racing here. Hardigan's trying to spoil the party as well. Makes contact with Bryan and nearly spins him around.
Oh, he spoiled Bryan's party, that's for sure. He got right into him at peak speed. And this has allowed Hobson to absolutely check out. This is exactly what he wanted, to give him the spot in the feature. Bryan is going to scrap hard with Hardigan for this P-Force. Well, he won't want to give it to him. Hardigan's bought himself a ticket to the show thanks to that big hip check. It's all on this final lap. Hobson's going to win. Don't worry about him. James Rice second. Big dive bomb from Taylor as well. Out of turn 4, Bryan steals a transfer. Hardigan goes around.
Wow, and that's before the line too, so he's going to have to just crawl across there. That's a big shame there for Hardigan, but ultimately Hobson, Rice and Cardwell were your podium, with Bryan, Taylor and Hardigan taking up the top 6. Kane Della, unfortunately, did not take to the grid, so he has no result to speak of yet tonight. Time to go through into the B main then. It looks like it's only going to be a single B main tonight, thanks to the reduced grid. And it's Lumsden and Russell on the front row, followed by Taylor, Dance, Hewitt and Hardigan, rounding out the top 6. Granger and Lawrence are going to round out the top 8. And I don't think... Actually, yes, we can expect Kane Della to take up the final spot on the grid. He is there waiting at pit exit with the rest of them. So, who's going to take the win in this one? Because Max Lumsden and Jaden Russell, I think, are quite evenly matched. Cam Taylor certainly built up some momentum in that previous heat, but we haven't seen much from Cameron Dance tonight, or Lewis Hewitt, who's looking for a bit of redemption there from 5th.
Yeah, this is going to be a fun B-main, setting the last half of the feature grid. And with how slow they are to get out of pit lane here, why not try to beat the pit truck out of it? Yeah, I think Lumsden and Russell should be a good fight at the front of this one. I think Hardigan and Hewitt should come through. I don't think Dan...
Oh, Hewitt's not even taken the grid. It seems that tonight has gone completely south for Lewis Hewitt, who's seen some great success at this track in the past. So it is only going to be 8 cars for this one.
I was going to say Hewitt and Hardigan should be able to get to the front. Hardigan should be able to get to the front, I think. I don't think Dance has got the pace tonight to be able to fight like we've seen a couple of times this season. He's back to the sort of thing he was really struggling at the start of the season. So he might be a bit of a cork in the bottle for some of those guys like Hardigan. Granger as well seemed to really struggle in his heat. So this could be a bit of a mixed up grid here. Let's see how it goes.
Indeed we shall. It's up to Lumsden as to when to go, and he leaves it a bit later and a bit lower down the track than others have in the past, and it's a very even start then, as, oh no, there's Taylor getting into Dance, and that has taken out the 5 rear cars, and that only leaves the top 3 to go on. Cameron Dance then leading the charge of that group with Granger and Della behind him, and Cam Taylor all on his lonesome. Poor Cody Lawrence trapped outside the circuit and about to be lapped as well, as between Lumsden and Russell hits side-by-side action. Oh, hello. Threading the needle, why don't you?
I was right, but at what cost was I right about how that would play out? That was very tight between Lumsden and Russell as their lines converged off of 4. Oh, Russell was close to the edge of the track there, but he placed the car beautifully. Hardigan shattering them in 3rd as well.
Doesn't want to get too close to the back end of Jaden Russell there, otherwise he'll get a black flag sent to him from race control. Cam Taylor's already gotten one for causing that incident we saw on lap 1. But a very close fight between Lumsden and Russell as they're trying to work their way through this lap traffic. Cody Lawrence, the driver, down on the bottom as Hardigan continues to pursue them there for P3. Lawrence very slow down on the bottom of the circuit. I think this race is effectively over for him. It's an extended race distance for the B main. We got 12 laps instead of 8, so there's a... Oh, no! Oh, dear. There goes Jaden Russell losing 2nd, possibly losing 3rd, because here comes Cameron Dance in the number 6 to take that position back, recovering from getting turned around on lap 1.
We're certainly seeing a bit of a cushion build up there. There's a lot of slick. It's... Call me crazy. It's harder for a cushion to build up when there's no wall there, right?
I guess in theory, yeah. But as you can see, there is quite a bit of clay being thrown up, and we just saw Jaden Russell going a bit too hot into 3 and 4 again and going off the circuit. He has lost even more time, and he's all the way back there in P5 as between Lawrence and Della battling for P6 and P7, trying to trade places. Kane Della's been looking for some good fortune this season. So far, it hasn't quite come his way. You could say the same for Cody Lawrence as well. There's been quite a few drivers in this series that have had less than stellar seasons, and they've been wanting some more out of this. Max Lumsden, though, coming around to start the 11th lap here, penultimate. It seems that he's in no trouble at all, especially considering when Jaden Russell went off the circuit, there was already quite a gap back to Daniel Hardigan, who now runs in 2nd. Last lap then for Max Lumsden.
Seems to be a nice sun descending over the circuit as well. which will blind Lumsden momentarily, but that'll be of no concern because he's going to win the B-main. He'll be best of the rest for the start of the feature. Pretty commanding B-main victory for the 55.
And Daniel Hardigan coming across the line in second with Dance completing the podium. It's Granger, Russell and Della, your top six, as that black flag was applied for Cam Taylor. And there we go. And with no spinny wheel tonight, it looks like it's going to be the top 12 reversed for the feature. That means that your pole man is going to be Paul Bryan in the number 42, and Josh Harm and James Edens are going to be starting all the way back there in 11th and 12th. We've got a very spicy feature coming up. For the moment, though, the drivers out on track, making sure that everything is up to their standards before we go through into this 40-lap feature. You're watching the Oceanic Dirt Sim Events Big Block Modified Madness Series, presented by Racecraft Simulations, Round 6. We're going to be back very shortly, the feature coming up soon. You're watching Big Block Modified Madness, Oceanic Dirt Sim Events presented by Racecraft Simulations. Round 6 from Lernerville has already seen some interesting races tonight, despite the reduced grid, and with the top 12 getting inverted for a 21-car grid, there's certainly opportunity for some passing points for the likes of Josh Harm, James Edens, Brenton Hobson, Joel Berkeley, and Harry Stewart, among many others here tonight. But one of the drivers we should be keeping an eye on here is Lewis Hewitt, who's going to be starting all the way back in 21st place. If you're just joining us, I'm Reese Gardner, Ryan Jones in the commentary box with me, and I think Hewitt's got quite a bit of work to do here over the 40 laps, Ryan.
He does. Lewis Hewitt does, and so does Joel Berkeley. Well, I mean, Berkeley doesn't have as much, but he hasn't looked as comfortable tonight. So, going to be very curious to see how Berkeley does, but Lewis Hewitt, certainly the story so far, not taking part in his B-main, starting from 21st in this race. Top 12 inverted, so Max Lumpton, the runaway winner of the B-main, will start 13th, just missing out on that invert. And a lot of damage to those cars in the B-main on lap 1, which meant that Cameron Dance finished 3rd behind Daniel Hardigan, and Granger, Russell, Della, Lawrence, Taylor finish in that order. So some of their pace might have been masked as well.
Yeah, you cannot forget that. I mean, with the incident we saw on the opening lap of the B-main, there was quite a bit of damage put through those machines. So let's see if they all make it to the end of lap 1 of this feature unscathed, because in just a few seconds, we're going to be making our way through into the feature. Joel Berkeley back out on track again. And still waiting for the call from race control. And there we go, right away. Brady Baldwin advancing to the next session. It's going to be 70 laps maximum in this feature, but hopefully we don't end up pushing it. It's a much reduced grid from previous rounds, so here's hoping that we don't see too many cautions and have the night drag on a bit.
I don't think we will, because the track's a bit of a self-clearing track, isn't it? You crash, you leave the racetrack.
Yes, there's no wall to bounce off except down at the front stretch, so if a couple drivers come together, well, see you guys, over the hills you go, and far away. So this is how the top 10 would line up normally, but we've got to remember Josh Harmon, James Deedens, they'll be starting 12th and 11th respectively with the invert, so that means that Paul Bryan in the number 42 is going to be starting on pole for this one.
He'll have Daniel Boyd alongside him. Aaron Kelly and Hayden Cardwell will have row 2. Bob King, Trent Gosley, James Rice, Harry Stewart, then Berkeley, then Hobson, then Edens, then Harm. And then from 13th on down, it reads normally. They'll have a couple laps here to sort themselves out. They've got to get out of pit lane first. There you go, boys.
Yes, indeed. You see it just behind the graphic, and Lewis Hewitt there, alone on the 11th row in 21st position. But the drivers all lining up and making their way out of pit lane. They'll have 2 formation laps here, and then they will get going for this round 6 feature. Seems that not only do they have to take care coming out of the pits, but they've also got to take care negotiating each other out on the track as they make the invert work. Lernerville is a big track. It's very wide, 0.4 of a mile, but evidently you can see that when the chaos starts happening on a formation lap, it's difficult to find a space.
Remember all the pace but no results you keep seeing from Hobson? What is he? Ended up 3rd. Now he has to start from 9th. How does that affect his race? Can he get to the front? Or does it go missing again today?
That will be the big question as the drivers line up. Paul Bryan and Daniel Boyd will take them. 3, 2, 1, go. And Paul Bryan leads them away massively. Daniel Boyd missed the cue there off the start. And Hayden Cardwell had to back out slightly there, but he tries threading the needle between Boyd and Bob King. To the inside he goes. Aaron Kelly has worked his way up into 2nd as I see Cameron Dance struggling to get the car going sideways as there's almost a big smash there between Bob King and Trent Gosley, and there we go. They've been turned around. The yellow flag is out. Brenton Hobson was involved in that.
And King's upside down. Still. So King's going to have to go up to pit lane, so his day is done.
That's a big shame there for Bob King. Out after only a lap's worth of racing. Barely a lap's worth of racing. We'll go to the VRS replay and see what happened to him here.
All started off turn 4 here, Reese, with Trent Gosley.
Yeah, Gosley hit the wall and then went into King. And who was that? The number 11 of Harry Stewart looked like, who got in there into the side of King, tipped him over. So we'll see if Harry Stewart has a penalty coming his way. Here's his view of what happened. As King came down, well, Stewart was already firing it in there, and it looks like Gosley just tapped him even further into King, which further exacerbated the incident.
I think that's pretty... Stewart's been given the EOL, but I think that's pretty bad. Like, I mean, they were pretty much wrecking in front of them. And Bob King himself has said I would have put that on car for Trent Gosley, and I'd probably agree with King, but Race Control has said that. Gosley's had his piece, but so Stewart goes to the back of the line. Race Control has the final say. King is done for the race.
And we have 20 cars left in the feature. So still on lap 1, technically getting ready to start lap 2. Paul Bryan's going to lead them away once again with Aaron Kelly alongside. Have a look at Hayden Cardwell. He timed that perfectly behind Paul Bryan and slots into second as they come into the first turn. James Rice has got the enemies at the gate behind him as Kane Della really slowed up, and that created a big concertina at the back of the field. We got Hewitt, Taylor, Lawrence, Gosley, and a bunch of others all fighting for those positions down there. But the two Slick SimSport teammates of Edens and Berkeley running side by side with Cameron Dance really pressuring them behind. And Berkeley started in 9th and is already up to P6, and it looks like he's showing no signs of slowing down. Cardwell, meanwhile, to the lead, it seems.
He has gotten up there and ran away. I'm just looking at the back. They're 4 wide for pretty much the last spot at the moment. Cody Lawrence, Hobson, Granger, and Gosley are all back there at the moment, scrapping away, and all of them struggling just a little bit, it seems. Harry Stewart's managed to get by them. Hewitt's checked out from them, so he's finding some pretty good pace early on. He's up to 13th now already.
Yeah, Hewitt tends to like tracks that are a bit slicker, and you can see how much the slip line encroaches on the circuit. Oh, I just saw a bit of contact there between Hewitt and Della. It's worked out all right between them, though, as we check in on James Rice and Joel Berkeley fighting their way forward. They are now pressuring Aaron Kelly for that 3rd place, and Kelly trying the slide job to keep them behind, just avoids getting into Paul Bryan. And thank goodness we're completing a good run of laps here, but with how close everyone is, I feel like a caution isn't that far away.
Stop Joel saying Berkeley. Things!
Oh, there we go. I cursed it! I cursed it! James Rice nearly turned around, and that has brought the caution flag out. And look at that. That's Stewart, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Reese, you know better than that.
Not sorry. Not sorry.
So here's the replay. Rice was half turned around. I would have hoped that didn't bring out the caution. That was a separate incident, I think. Yeah, separate.
Looks like Harry Stewart and Cam Taylor came together ever so slightly, and that was enough to tip Harry Stewart over the berm and onto his roof. So 19 cars now left in this. Harry Stewart is going to be livid about that because he certainly had some great results to back himself up tonight. Started second, finished second in his heat, so he was certainly on his way.
Just seeing... Who's this? That was Berkeley passing lots of cars. What are we seeing here?
Dance has slowed down there. He's been given an end-of-line penalty. It looks like, for some reason, Cameron Dance has been elected as the car that brought out the caution. We're about to get a restart, though. Coming around to start lap 9, and Joel Berkeley was right on it there as Hayden Cardwell got away. Slight technical issue for Berkeley as he makes his way up past Paul Bryan. And it's all on for young and old down the bottom of the circuit out of 1 and 2. Edens and Kelly pressuring each other, and Rice slowing up on the inside. That's pushed a bunch of cars way up the circuit, and that's created a big concertina at the back.
Josh Harm sliding up in front of Daniel Hardigan. Probably one of the safest spots on the track right now. You can see it out front of Lewis Hewitt's car as around, and a big crash, and off the road go a couple. Up and over and over.
Stopped.
For Kane Della, who tumbles down the embankment, gets away with it.
Okay, so dissecting this incident, it started when Aaron Kelly got into Paul Bryan, and he ended up being stopped on the top lane of the circuit. And, well, there was nowhere for anyone to go, really. This is what happened. There goes Kelly into Bryan. He's probably going to get a penalty for that. And
you reckon?
Yeah, well, we'll see.
Check out...
Goodness.
See if we can get an angle of Kane Della's tumble down the embankment. Can't even see him there. But he went tumbling all the way down and landed on his wheels. Kept on going.
Well, this is going to be quite the onboard, isn't it? Right on board with Kane Della. Trying to work the middle through 3 and 4, but a car there on the outside, and you'll see Aaron Kelly come to a stop right there. Boom! And that is quite the tumble all the way down to the orange fence down at the bottom of the circuit. I mean, good thing they don't allow spectators around there because, well, for one, they won't be able to see the cars, but for second, it'd certainly be a nasty surprise to get a car tumbling over a hill all of a sudden, wouldn't it?
Where are the cars, Dad? Oh, there's one! Oh, no! All right.
And Aaron Kelly's been given the end of line. Looks like my prediction was correct.
Yeah. That was pretty blatant, wasn't it?
Big old hit as we get ready for the next restart. It's going to be going green again at the end of this lap. And away they go. Cardwell leads them. Berkeley second, Edens third. So already that's some more crucial passing points for Joel Berkeley, and Cardwell working the inside down where the fresh clay is. There's a crash at the back.
But we're still green. 3 wide on the exit for about 6th or 7th. They get away with it. That was Stewart on the bottom. Up front, Berkeley leads this race now. The outside works nicely for him over Cardwell, who almost got drilled on the left rear there by Josh Harm. A lot of drivers are struggling. They're getting down low, and a couple times the car's just straight lining that bottom side, and we're getting some really awkward moments down there, but most of the time it works out. And Paul Bryan's now getting around the outside of Harm as well. The outside definitely working.
Yeah, certainly is.
Yeah, look at Hobbo up top. Hobbo's flying.
This is some excellent form here from Brenton Hobson, and seems that he's keeping that momentum up very nicely around the outside. Up into 6th place he goes as they're 3 wide behind him. Daniel Boyd going very hard into turns 1 and 2, but gets pipped by Gosley around the outside. Yes, indeed, 4 wide. And Lewis Hewitt's got quite the tight space down on the bottom, trying to pick up the throttle as best he can, but makes a bit of contact there with Max Lumsden, almost sent around as Hobbo goes for it on Josh Harm. Almost gets it done. He's got Gosley right behind him, putting on some massive pressure, though. Gosley's going to try and move to the inside, and Hobbo had to back out there as Harm went up the circuit.
Was that a bit of a knock-on effect of the previous races? Hobbo backs out of that. He could have kept his foot in it and squeezed through the outside. He just backs out of it. He wants to finish this race up towards the front. Just coming up to halfway.
Halfway now as Berkeley, Edens and Cardwell, your top 3, have well and truly broken away from the rest of the field. There goes Hobbo down the inside of Josh Harm, trying the slide job, keeps it in the middle of the circuit and loses that momentum there. Oh, making a bit of contact with Max Lumsden too.
Slide up in front of him because Paul Bryan's car was there. He couldn't slide back up behind him because there was a car there as well. Look at the top 3.
3 wide. 3 wide for the top 3. That's crazy. This guy's fighting incredibly hard. Harm going for the straight line exit. Turns 1 and 2. Fire up the inside at 3 and 4. Edens stuck in the middle here between his 2 teammates. And still working the inside and going for the slide job on Joel Berkeley. But Berkeley up the top is his territory. And that's going to work out nicely for the number 9. Hello, 3 wide again almost, out of turns 3 and 4. The race laps are just flying by now, and I think they're just putting on a show up the front. They got no pressure from behind.
Whoa, Cardwell with the big send!
Oh, goodness me, and Hewitt. Lewis Hewitt is out of the race. Something's happened to him.
Maybe rolled it up off the side somewhere?
Yeah, he rolled it up off the top of the circuit, and he couldn't turn in for 3 and 4. He just went straight off and into the pit lane. So that's his night over.
This is phenomenal between the top 3. Berkeley, Cardwell, Eden showing off. They're about to catch a laps car and Cody Lawrence. Lawrence has been in that position before tonight, unfortunately for him, in the heat race earlier on. The B-main, it was. Here's the Virtual Racing School replay. What happened to Hewitt? Bottom right of your screen.
Yes, indeed, as it's very close there between the top 3. Hayden Cardwell working up into second as they make their way past the 055, and there you see Hewitt tried to turn in, but yeah. That's I think that's speeding in pits, possibly.
And an unsafe entrance as well, I would say.
Yes. Have a look at this battling down in the field.
Caution's
The caution is out. Hello.
I think we just caught that at the bottom of the screen as well for half a second. Yeah, I think the 5 might have been involved. No, the one just... Yep. James Rice.
Yeah, James Rice pulling to a stop. And it looks like that was contact with Kane Della. Oh, no. No, it wasn't. It was actually contact with Taylor. Something happened to Cam Taylor. Oh, yeah. Taylor went into the back of Nash Granger, and that concertinaed him back into James Rice. So, Rice with some big suspension damage out of that one.
Forcing another retirement. Have we? I feel like we're seeing a lot of retirements tonight that we don't normally see.
Yeah, I'd say so too. Even with the reduced field, as you see the incident happen there, there's been 5 retirements so far. No, sorry, 4. Cody Lawrence is still out on circuit, but he's gone a lap down on everyone else. But yeah, I'm not used to seeing this many drivers dropping out this early. We usually see maybe 1 or 2 retirements, maybe 3 or 4 in a feature in this series. But yeah, we haven't even got to the 3/4 point. There's going to be 11 laps left to go.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't say it's early. There's not long left to go. 11 laps isn't much.
Nope.
It's going to go by in a flash.
Let's see how Hayden Cardwell times this start, and looks like Joel Berkeley, starting on the outside for this restart, managed to take it nicely. Cardwell goes up to the top and just avoids spearing over the embankment, and these two are starting to leave James Edens behind. As
off the edge
goes God!
Into the fence and upside down, landed on his wheels, but this should be a caution.
Should be.
Why is there not a caution? He's on the track and he's had to go back to the pits. He's gone.
Oh, no. After fighting for the win, man. That is harsh. That is very rough there for Hayden Cardwell. That leaves Berkeley and Edens, the Slick Sim Sport 1-2 at the top of the field as we ride on board with Brian. He's behind Hobson here, working up into P4. He's got 2 cars behind him, Boyd and Dance, fighting for each other down on the bottom. Oh no, there goes Paul Bryan up and over. Man, that's definitely going to be a caution. Or is it?
Be.
No, it's not going to be a caution. We are staying green. How? I have no idea. Oh, goodness me. I mean, this is
Kane
just...
Della and Paul came Della and got together with someone else there. Edens is catching Joel Berkeley, by the way. That fight's not over for the race win.
Let's see how they go then. These guys have been fought very hard. 6 laps to go now. They fought hard at the last round at Limaland and really pressured each other the previous round at USA International Speedway. We're starting to see that again here as there are now 5 laps to go here at Lernerville. Have a look at how much the slick goes across the racetrack. There is barely any grip out there on corner entry. Brenton Hobson could have a shot at a podium here because Josh Harm is just sitting pretty here up on the outside. Could Hobbo take a surprise podium in this 6th round after suffering from so much bad luck throughout the season? Just behind him, Max Lumsden and Cameron Dance continue to battle. As across the line, Berkeley and Edens are going to come, and they are closer than ever.
Almost kissing the fence from Edens. Now he's taking a slightly different line to Joel Berkeley, the leader, and it's working better for him. A little bit lower in 3 and 4 than Berkeley. Gets to his left rear. He's going to have to go for the big slide into 1 and 2. He goes for it, but the crossover from Berkeley gives him the exit. The fight is on for the lead of the race. Going to be 2 to go when we cross the stripe this time.
It is white flag this time by, and Joel Berkeley leading the way. Can James Edens go for the banzai move at the final corner? He's tucked up behind him, his teammate. He does have to go for it, but Berkeley is protecting the inside.
Oh, he's got him a hit!
make contact. Edens. Oh, Berkeley's been spun around. He's only got the line there. He just manages to take second.
No, the teammates.
Oh my God.
The teammates have crashed to the line.
Hobson got on the podium, by the way, it seems. No, actually. Harmon third.
They still got a 1-2. But I'm not entirely sure if Edens will keep that win.
Yeah, that might be something for race control to decide in the hours after the night has been completed. Either way, a very controversial finish between the Slick Sim Sport cars. So it's going to be unclear what kinds of celebrations we're going to be seeing, and I think the interviews are certainly going to be spicy as well. But we're going to have to wait a bit for that. P1 and P2 to be reviewed, apparently. So who knows? We might not get a result just yet.
No. That has to be expected. Well, we could all see it coming, though. That was always going to happen in that last quarter. There's no way Edens was going to let him sail off into 3 and 4 without any pressure from behind. And, yeah. A good race overall. Only a couple of cautions and fantastic fighting for the lead all race long.
Yes, indeed. The top 3 battle with Edens, Cardwell, and Berkeley was fantastic. It is a shame that Hayden Cardwell was unable to make it to the finish, because I think he would definitely have thrown a spanner in the works for that one. Well, I'm not too sure if we're going to be able to get around to driver interviews, because seems that, obviously the positions are still up for debate. But we'll give them 30 seconds, I reckon, before we see if anyone's going to sort themselves out. And Ryan is counting very quickly in our text chat. Time is not up, Ryan. Excuse me. It's been more like 15 seconds, mate.
Don't out me like that. Don't out my true personality.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah. Oh, well, it looks like that's... Oh, no. Joel Berkeley has just turned up. Just in time. All right.
No, there's 2 of them.
Then there's probably going to be a third as well. Everyone's here now. Okay. Joel Berkeley is going to be the first driver we interview here. Joel, starting down in 9th, worked your way up very nicely, but it was all about the battle for the lead between you and James Edens, with a controversial finish, to say the least.
I would have done the same to James if I had the chance, but, when he finishes second so many times, of course he's going to do it.
Oh, goodness. So you guys are just having a laugh about it down in the Slick Sim Sport garage? No hard feelings?
Oh no, there was fists thrown at him. Nah, It's all just a good laugh. Honestly, he did. I don't think he meant to do as hard as he did. He meant to door me, but I don't think he meant to door me off the track. Normally it wouldn't be an issue, but here it becomes an issue. But it was a fun race between myself, James, and Hayden there until he ran off the track. I thought that was a really good race and put on a good show, I think.
Yeah, it seems Lernerville lends itself really well to this modified racing. It's nice and wide. It's got varying cambers. These cars take to this track really well, don't they?
Yeah, no, they do. It opens up multiple lines. Like I think at the end there, you can run like top and you run slide at the top, or you probably even run the bottom if you're decent enough and run like top cutback or something like that. But yeah, no, it was a good track, I thought, and happy to walk away with another win. But is what it is, and hopefully I'm here next week. I don't know if I'll be here next week due to being away for real life commitments, but we'll see how we go.
We shall, and obviously championship lead largely unaffected for you as well going into the final 2 rounds of the championship. Before we let you go, Joel, anyone that you'd like to thank?
Yeah, massive thanks to the guys at Slick SimSport for all they do, and the guys at Swindell Speedway for all they do as well, and everyone that makes it possible. You guys for broadcasting, and Brady and Bob for their efforts hosting.
That's Joel Berkeley there, the number 9. First or second, it's still not quite clear. Next up, in the driver interview stakes, the number 52 of James Edens. Welcome, James. First off, let's get your perspective of that final corner incident between you and Joel.
Yeah, he got scared and he tried to block me. He knew I was gonna try to slide him, so we were full committed to it, and rule number 1 of racing, you block, you pay. So we crossed the line first, but they're gonna score us in second. I think we demand a recount there. I think the fans, prefer that I would have won, but it is what it is. No, it's rigged for the Australians, man. Come on.
Oh my goodness. Well, either way, coming home on the podium, James, it's certainly a good one, a good thing to come away with in the 6th round of the championship, and second place is preserved as well for you in the standings.
Yeah, for sure. We had a rough week last week, so just had to recover from that, have a good race. Get tired of getting beat by Joel there. He's so far ahead in points now, but we still got 3 rounds to go, and we'll keep doing what we're doing.
Certainly will. You're apparently in love, from what we hear from your teammates. Is that all the reaction we're going to get for that one?
No, you know what it was last week. He told me if I didn't get wrecked in the B main, that he was going to pull all sponsorships. So don't let him fool you. But no, he just likes to fool around a little bit. So.
Does indeed. Well, James, before we let you go, anyone that you'd like to thank from Slick Sim Sport?
Yeah, I just got I gotta thank Speed Lab and then Slick Sim Sport, Bell Helmets, K1 Race Gear, Race Electronics, HMS Motorsport, Dominator Designs for the beautiful race cars, and glad to put it on the podium.
Yes, indeed. Podium guarantee there for the number 52 of James Edens. Final driver interview of the night. Josh Harm. It's a podium for you, Harmy, in some interesting circumstances. It looked like quite the frenetic feature.
Yeah, no, it was very exciting from my point of view. All the action happened in front of me.
Yeah, that it did. It seems like Lernerville being such a wide track, it encourages that kind of real hard and fast 3-4 wide racing, but seems like a lot of drivers were caught out by the lack of wall up at the top.
Yeah, definitely. You can send it 3 and 4 wide quite easily, but if you get a little bit too high, a little bit too much committed, you can easily run off the top of the track, like Hayden.
Yes, indeed. Seemed like there were a lot of drivers here today who could have come away with a good result, but ended up retiring. You, on the other hand, making it onto the podium. That's some very valuable championship points for you. And, after starting from 12th, that's some crucial passing points too.
Yeah, definitely a good night. Definitely can't complain. Went quick time, win me heat. Started 12th and on the podium. Yeah, good night.
Good night indeed. Before we let you go, Josh Harm, anyone that you'd like to thank?
Just the boys at the Slick Sim Sport team for turning out a good car every week. Can't complain.
It is a 1-2-3 for Slick Sim Sports at the end of the day, and I don't think it matters what order the top 2 were in. That was a fantastic feature to round off the night. And that is going to bring an end to proceedings. Ryan, my goodness, can anyone stop Joel Berkeley? With,
James Edens.
Well, yeah,
He just needs to do it earlier in the race.
Giving it a go.
If he does that earlier in the race.
Yes. Well, he's going to have to do it quite early on and win by miles if he wants a shot at this championship. Either way, the title is currently Joel Berkeley's to lose. We're going to Lanier National Speedway next week for the next round of the Big Block Modified Madness series, and we certainly hope to see you there. Thanks very much to Racecraft Simulations for their support of this series. Thank you to Oceanic Dirt Sim Events for running the whole thing in the first place. Thank you very much to our podium getters for coming in and having a chat with us. I'm Reese Gardner, Ryan Jones alongside me, and Jay Kennedy. on cameras, making everything happen behind the scenes. Bye for now, but not forever. We're going to see you at Lanier.
This is fantastic. This is GT racing right now. He's got traction. He's going in the outside. Both of them. Maloney. Oh, he's taking Anderson. Anderson's up the wall. Oh my God. Oh, big crash. Oh my goodness. Half the field's going to get rolled.
Second very close. These guys I want to make their way through the field very quickly.
Oh, there we go.
Oh no! That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my god!
God, what?